The rain fell hard on the streets of Chicago that night. Wind rattled the windows of old brick buildings, tugged at signs above storefronts, and cut straight through my thin coat. My shoes were soaked, each step heavy from hours of walking the same hotel corridors with mop and bucket. The night shift always left me drained, but that morning the cold seemed sharper, the darkness heavier. I only wanted to get home. To close the door of my small apartment, change into dry clothes, and forget the city outside. I turned a corner and almost didn't notice him. A man sat slumped against the wall of an abandoned store, water dripping from the gutter above. His hair clung to his forehead, long and matted. His clothes were torn, skin pale beneath the streetlight. I thought he was just another man lost to the streets, and I would have walked past, until I saw his face. My breath stopped. Daniel. 3 years had passed, but I knew him instantly. My name is Clara. I am 30 years old, and for the last 6 I've cleaned rooms at a downtown hotel. The job is quiet. Most of the guests don't see me, and that suits me fine. Life hasn't been kind, I've grown used to silence. Daniel was once the center of my world. We met when I was 23, both of us working at a grocery store. He was charming, quick with a smile, always able to make people laugh. We dated for 4 years, lived together in a small apartment, talked about marriage. I believed he was the one. Until the day he left. No goodbye. No phone call. Just an empty closet, his keys on the table. I later heard he'd moved in with someone else, a woman with money, a bigger house, a better future. He chose her, and I was left with nothing. The weeks that followed hollowed me out. I couldn't sleep. Couldn't eat. I cried until the walls felt like they would collapse under the sound of it. After that, I stopped trusting people. Stopped letting anyone close. And now, on a wet Chicago street, there he was again, broken. Shivering, staring at me like a ghost. Daniel, I said, my voice sharper than I expected. He looked up, recognition flickering in his eyes. His lips trembled as he tried to speak, but no words came. What happened to you? I asked, though part of me already knew. I lost everything, he whispered. I have nowhere to go. I should have walked away. He had broken me once, I owed him nothing. Yet I couldn't. His hands were raw from the cold, his cheeks hollow. Something inside me refused to abandon him. Come, I said at last. There's a cafe across the street. We walked in silence, his steps unsteady. Inside, I bought him coffee and bread. He ate slowly, his eyes fixed on the table. I'm sorry, he said after a long time. His voice was quiet, stripped of the easy confidence I remembered. For everything. For leaving you. I didn't answer. What was there to say? He had carved a wound in me that still ached. Yet across from me sat not the man who left, but someone smaller, broken in ways I hadn't imagined. He told me the woman was gone after a year. Jobs came and went. Cities blurred together. Each failure brought him lower until there was nothing left but the streets. I don't expect anything, he said. I just, thank you. For this. When he rose to leave, something inside me tightened. Wait, I said. There was a shelter near my apartment, always short on hands. Cleaning cages, feeding strays, work no one wanted, but work all the same. I told him I could ask if they'd take him. Daniel stared, as though I'd spoken in another language. You'd do that for me? I don't know why, I admitted. Maybe because I know what it feels like to have nothing. The next afternoon he started at the shelter. I checked in 2 days later, not sure what I expected to find. There he was, in the back, scrubbing cages until his face flushed red. He didn't see me, but I saw something different in him. No charm. No smile. Just quiet work. That night, I left a coat and socks on his cot. He looked at me with tired eyes. Thank you, he said softly. It gets cold at night. I'm trying, he said. And he was. Each day he returned to the shelter, sweeping floors, feeding dogs, speaking little. I watched from a distance, unsure what to feel. One evening, carrying groceries home, I heard shouting from a narrow alley. My heart jolted when I saw him on the ground, two men towering above. "Leave him alone!" I screamed, my voice shaking. They turned, one pulling a knife. Fear rooted me in place, but I grabbed a glass bottle from the ground and raised it high. "I called the police." I lied. "They're on their way." The men ran. Daniel clutched his side, blood seeping through his shirt. I helped him to a clinic, paid for the bandage when he couldn't. "Why did you help me?" he asked on the way back. "I don't know," I said. But I did know. Because even after everything, I couldn't let him be hurt again. That night, he slept on my couch. He didn't ask, and I didn't offer. It simply happened. Days slipped into weeks. Daniel woke early, went to the shelter, came back quietly. He cleaned the dishes without asking, folded blankets, even walked Lulu, the three-legged dog who'd taken to following him around. We spoke little, but the silence wasn't heavy. It was calm, steady, unlike the old days when charm filled every corner. One night, over soup, he finally said, "This feels nice. Like before." "The old times weren't nice in the end," I reminded him. He lowered his eyes. "You're right. I left because I was weak. You were strong, and I felt small. She made me feel important. I thought that mattered more." The words cut deep, but they were honest. And for the first time, I wondered if I was seeing him as he truly was. Two rough men appeared at the shelter a week later. They asked for Daniel, their eyes cold, their presence wrong. That night I told him. "I know them," he admitted. "I owe them money." "What kind of money?" "The wrong kind." Fear settled in me like ice. He had dragged danger into my life, and yet I couldn't let it swallow him. The next morning, I emptied my savings account. Not much, barely enough for rent, but I pressed the envelope into his hands. "Take it," I said. "Pay them off." His face went pale. "Clara, no. You don't owe me this. You should hate me." "I did," I said. "But hate doesn't help." That night he left. I waited by the window until 3 in the morning, when a knock sounded at the door. His shirt was torn, lip bleeding, but he was alive. "They took the money," he whispered. I pulled him inside. No questions. No words. Only relief. Daniel stayed another 2 weeks. He worked, cooked, walked Lulu. At night I heard him moving on the couch, restless but quiet. Each day I fought a war inside. Part of me remembered the pain he caused, the nights alone, the fear of never being enough. But another part saw a man learning to stand again, one careful step at a time. Forgiveness, I realized, wasn't about forgetting. It wasn't about returning to what once was. It was about choosing not to let anger define me. Choosing to help, even when it hurt. One evening he came home holding a letter. "I got a job," he said. "Full-time. At a shelter in another town. They'll give me a room." "That's good," I said, though my chest felt heavy. He packed quietly over the next days, fixing small things around my apartment as if leaving gifts behind. On his last morning, we sat with coffee while Lulu slept at his feet. "Thank you," he said. "For everything. You gave me a chance no one else would." "You're stronger than you think," I told him. He shook his head. "I was never strong before. But you showed me what it means to try." He picked up his bag and left without looking back. I stood at the window, watching him disappear into the rain. A quiet goodbye. The apartment felt different after he left. Not empty, but calm. I fed Lulu, washed dishes, went to work. But inside I carried something new. Weeks passed before a letter arrived in my mailbox. It was from Daniel. He wrote that the shelter had given him a room with a bed, a desk, and a key of his own. He worked 6 days a week, feeding dogs, cleaning cages. The work was hard but good. He had saved his first paycheck but didn't send it. "This isn't about money," he wrote. "It's about learning to stand." At the end he wrote, "You didn't just save my body. You saved my soul. You reminded me that good people exist. Because of you, I believe I can give someone else the same chance one day." I held the letter for a long time. I didn't cry, but something deep inside me shifted. That night, I sat outside with Lulu. The air was cool, the city lights sharp against the dark. I thought about everything I had lost and everything I had chosen. I had been broken once. Left behind. Filled with anger and fear. But I chose something different. I chose to forgive. To protect. To help. And in doing that, I found myself again. Daniel didn't become the man I once dreamed he would be. He became something else, someone quieter, humbler, stronger. And I became a woman who could face the past and still choose kindness. That is not weakness. That is courage. That is strength. And that, I realized, is love. Not romantic love, not the kind that fades or betrays. But love that lives in small actions, in quiet forgiveness, in brave hearts. Not romantic love, not perfect love, but love that lives in quiet actions and brave hearts.